At my brother's wedding, his bride's mother, Mary, said to me,
With those legs, you're a slow walker and just a burden.
then my brother's bride, Rachel, who was heading for a dress change, sneered at me and said,
Your prosthetic leg is going to be in my glorious wedding video. It's the worst. It's a stain on my life and a disgrace to the Smith family. You should just leave.
As the two of them snickered, I felt my heart beginning to break. But at that moment, my brother James rushed over to me and told them.
You two should be the ones to leave.
At that moment, he looked just like the big brother who had always protected me during our school days. He had become weaker and weaker toward the constant bullying from Rachel and Mary since he was getting married, but that side of him was nowhere to be seen now. I was so moved by my brother's strong presence that I started to cry. Then Rachel, displeased that he chose to stand up for his sister instead of her, declared,
I'm divorcing you. You don't understand your position as my husband. Once that happens, I'll make sure you get fired from your job.
She said this with confidence, but the situation completely changed when her father, Daniel, rushed in. After hearing what Daniel said, Rachel turned pale. What happened next was something we could have never expected. My name is Ashley Brown. I'm 29 years old and currently work as a web designer. I was born without one leg. Because of this, I've used a prosthetic leg since I was a child. In elementary school, I always wore long pants to hide my prosthetic leg and avoid being bullied. But when I entered middle and high school, I had to wear a skirt as part of the uniform, and I started getting curious stares from students who came from other schools. The teachers tried to keep it under control, but I would still hear people whispering behind my back. I was always the center of attention at school events. But there was someone who always encouraged me through these depressing events. That person was my brother James. Every year, a few days after the opening ceremony, he would come to my class and check on me.
Ashley, Big Bro came to check on you. How's it going? Getting used to the class? You're a bit shy, so if you have any worries, just come to me right away.
Come on, James, stop yelling.
See ya.
While my classmates giggled, my brother would be concerned about me. And after he left the classroom, people would often tell me that he was funny. Thanks to my brother, I became close friends with many of my classmates. Although it was always a bit embarrassing at first, I was always grateful to my brother. In high school, I enjoyed drawing in the living room of our house as a hobby. My brother's friends would often come over, and they would give me snacks or say hello when they saw me in the living room. One of those friends was Ethan, who is now my husband.
Hey, Ashley, drawing again? Next time, could you draw a character from my favorite comic book?
Well, sure. Among my brother's friends, I especially liked Ethan because he was always kind to me. Even at school, he would greet me when we passed each other, and we became close enough to joke around with each other. I promised to draw the comic book character for him, and I decided to confess my feelings when I handed it to him. So every day, I looked forward to when he would come over again. When Ethan came over that day, I had styled my hair differently than usual. When he arrived, I asked my brother to go to his room on the second floor so I could have some time alone with Ethan. As soon as we were alone, he noticed my new hairstyle.
Ashley, you look different today, don't you?
Really? Oh, I finished drawing the comic book character you asked for. I was so nervous that the conversation became awkward. When I handed him the drawing, my hand was shaking and my face was bright red. But I mustered up the courage to look him straight in the eye and confess. Well, I really like you, Ethan. Will you go out with me? Ethan looked surprised at first, but then his face turned bright red and he shyly replied,
I was planning to tell you the same thing, but you beat me to it.
At that moment, I was so happy that I started to cry. My brother, concerned about how long Ethan was taking, came to check on us, but when he saw me crying, he seemed to misunderstand the situation.
What the heck, Ethan? Why'd you make Ashley cry?
My brother moved toward Ethan, but I quickly said, No, James, it's not like that. I'm crying because I'm happy.
Ashley just confessed to me, and now we're dating.
When Ethan shyly explained, my brother immediately said to him,
That's awesome. You've been saying how cute Ashley is for ages. I'm glad it worked out for you.
Wait, really? Hearing this side of Ethan that I didn't know, I felt even happier. That day, we spent the whole time chatting and joking around with my brother teasing me. After dating for 10 years, we got married when I was 26. At the wedding, my brother cried his eyes out, making it an event full of memories. From the moment we started dating, Ethan has always treated me the same, and I was looking forward to our married life together. Now, 3 years into our marriage, our bond has only grown stronger. I've started working from home as a web designer, which has reduced the strain on my leg and made life easier. Ethan helps out by doing the shopping on his days off or ordering things online to take care of everything around the house, making things more comfortable for me. My brother still comes over sometimes, and the three of us enjoy playing games or chatting late into the night. I thought these days would go on forever, but then my brother suddenly announced that he was getting married.
Actually, Ashley, I was too embarrassed to tell you, but I'm getting married.
What? Really? Congratulations. I was surprised, but happy to hear my brother's good news. I started imagining what kind of person his bride would be and whether we would get along. So, what kind of person is your bride? When I asked, he told me she was cheerful and honest. He also mentioned that her father, Daniel, is the president of a well-known beverage company featured in commercials. He went on to say that he would become her family's adopted son-in-law after they got married.
I might even take over Daniel's position as president someday. I've already quit my previous job and started working at his company, and they've mentioned making me his secretary and eventually the president. It sounds like a huge responsibility, but I'll do my best to make you proud, Ashley.
He spoke with such optimism. It was an unexpected development I never imagined during our high school days, and it made me feel like my brother was becoming distant, but I was fully supportive of his happiness. James, you'll do great no matter where you go. If you become the president, let me design the flyers and website for the company.
Of course, I'll be counting on you.
The conversation about his wedding quickly ended, and we continued to eat dinner as usual before he left.
Who would have thought James would marry into wealth? You never know what life has in store.
Yeah, I wonder if he'll still come visit us like he always has. When I voiced my concern, Ethan reassured me.
I believe James will still visit. I'm more excited about the wedding. Let's make it as fun as they did for us.
You're right. I need to take lots of pictures of my brother looking dashing. A little while later, my brother called me.
Ashley, Ethan, are you free 2 Saturdays from now?
My brother asked us. Apparently, the bride's family wanted to have a meeting with the relatives. They're planning to rent a room at a fancy hotel and have a party. Wow, it sounds nerve-wracking but fun.
If we're invited, Of course, we'll come.
Thanks.
My brother quickly hung up, apologizing for the sudden request, mentioning that he was busy with the wedding preparations. Even though he's always had time for casual chats and checking in on me, this time he didn't. It made me a little worried, thinking he must be really busy. And then the day of the family meeting arrived. I wore a long dress that would hide my legs. As soon as I entered the room, I noticed my brother struggling, carrying drinks for his wife and her mother. When he saw that we had arrived, he quickly came over.
I'm sorry. I might not be able to talk much today, but please enjoy the meal.
With that, he hurried back to his wife and mother-in-law, serving them as much as he could. Seeing him like that, I couldn't stand it. It was an awkward situation. Knowing his position as a future adopted son-in-law made him so vulnerable. After a while, my brother's wife and her mother came over to greet us.
Ashley, Ethan, let me introduce you. This is my wife, Rachel, and her mother, Mary.
After introducing us, my brother was immediately called away by Rachel's father, leaving us alone with them. Nice to meet you. I'm Ashley, his sister. Ethan also greeted them, but Rachel stared intently at my face.
You look just like James, and your hair is as messy as his. This party was announced at a luxury hotel, so you could have made a salon appointment, you know?
She said this rudely, laughing under her breath. Ethan was about to speak up, but I stopped him and responded myself. It's not messy, it's naturally like this. Besides, I did go to the salon yesterday.
Oh, really? And that's the best they could do. How unfortunate.
Mary chimed in with her own snide remark, and satisfied, the two of them went back to their seats. A few minutes later, my brother returned, and Ethan told him what had just happened.
I think their attitude was way out of line.
I'm really sorry.
It's okay. I spoke up for myself too. My brother's brow was furrowed in regret, feeling bad for not being able to stand up for me. But I was just glad to see that, even after getting married, my brother hadn't changed. As we talked, Rachel soon called out to my brother again.
James, Auntie's glass is empty.
Called away again, my brother apologized to us and rushed back to Rachel's side. Ethan and I were talking about how tough things seemed for him when Rachel's father, Daniel, approached us.
So, you must be Ashley and Ethan. I'm Rachel's father, Daniel Smith.
He handed us his business card smoothly. We hurriedly straightened up and accepted the card.
We're grateful to have James as a member of our family. I hope we can continue to build a strong relationship.
We're honored, thank you. Ethan and I responded, trying our best to handle the formal atmosphere. As we were talking with Daniel, Rachel came over, glaring at us. She stopped right in front of me and suddenly said loudly,
Hey, what's up with your leg? That leg over there, is it made of metal?
She leaned in, trying to get a closer look. I hadn't been trying to hide it, so I lifted my skirt slightly and explained that I wear a prosthetic leg. Daniel listened to my explanation attentively, but Rachel made a disgusted face and muttered,
Wow, someone with a prosthetic leg is going to be my sister-in-law.
It seemed like neither Daniel nor Ethan heard her, but I felt a chill run through me. Then, as if nothing had happened, Rachel suddenly started encouraging me.
You've had a tough time, haven't you? If there's anything I can do, I'm here for you.
She patted my shoulder before quickly heading over to Mary, whispering to her. The two of them snickered, and Mary glanced over at my leg. They were probably laughing at it. I was so upset that I almost cried, but I held back with all my strength. The family meeting eventually came to an end, and Rachel's relatives and family started to leave one by one. Since it was a standing party, my leg was tired, so I decided to sit and rest for a bit before heading home.
Are you okay? Should I call a cab?
Ethan asked, concerned, and offered to arrange a taxi for me. I was afraid of people whispering about my prosthetic leg again if I took the train, so I agreed and asked him to get a taxi. During the ride, I couldn't stop thinking about Rachel and Mary. Their faces and words kept replaying in my mind. If I strongly rejected Rachel, I wasn't sure what would happen to my brother. From what I saw today, it was clear that my brother, as he was going to be an adopted son-in-law, couldn't stand up to Rachel or Mary. I worried that his life would become even more difficult, so I decided to keep quiet and endure it without telling anyone. A few weeks later, a package arrived for me from Rachel.
A package from Rachel? I wonder what it could be. Did we talk about anything at the family meeting?
I don't know. I can't remember anything. I had no idea what the package was, but I opened it anyway. Inside was a party dress, apparently meant for the wedding. There was also a letter. The letter said that she thought the dress would look great on me and asked me to wear it to the wedding.
Wow, Rachel's so thoughtful. The color suits you too, Ashley. That's really nice of her.
Ethan praised Rachel enthusiastically. Since I did like the color of the dress, I felt a bit happy too. But when I eagerly took the dress out of the box and unfolded it, I was stunned. The dress was knee-length, just short enough to show my prosthetic leg. At that moment, I realized this was Rachel's way of provoking me. She knew about my prosthetic leg and sent this dress specifically to make sure it was visible. I was considering getting another dress when the phone rang.
Hello, Ashley. Rachel really wants to talk to you. Can I put her on?
My brother seemed to have no idea. When I agreed, Rachel came on the line, giggling.
Oh, hello. Did you get the package I sent today? I just knew that dress would look perfect on you. My mom and I picked it out so carefully, so please wear it to the wedding, okay? I'm really looking forward to seeing you in it.
With that haughty tone, she hung up abruptly.
Was that James? What did he say?
Oh, Rachel sent a party dress, and she asked me to wear it to the wedding. I'll put it away in the closet so it doesn't get dirty. I explained with a strained smile and quickly went back to my room. Alone, I started to think. Was Rachel trying to make a spectacle of me? Or was she planning to laugh at me with Mary? Either way, it was unforgivable, and I was torn about what to do with the dress. If I didn't wear it, it would reflect poorly on my brother. I decided that I would endure it for his sake, even if it meant putting up with the humiliation. And then, 6 months later, the day of my brother and Rachel's wedding arrived. My father was going to drive us to the venue, so I changed into the party dress at home.
Yes, it really does suit you, Ashley. Rachel will probably be happy when she sees you.
Since Ethan had never been bothered by my prosthetic leg, he complimented me without mentioning it. But do you think it looks weird with my prosthetic leg showing? I deliberately asked him what he thought about my leg being visible. He gently patted my head and said,
You're overthinking it, Ashley. No one is going to say it doesn't suit you just because of your prosthetic leg. And if anyone does, I'll handle it. Okay?
His kind words gave me strength. Indeed, as long as I stay close to Ethan during the wedding, I'll feel safe knowing I have someone on my side, even if anyone says something. With renewed determination, we headed to the wedding venue. When we arrived, the families greeted each other. Rachel's family radiated elegance and refinement from their outfits to their demeanor. Especially Mary, who brought her own luxurious dress instead of renting one, smiled condescendingly at my mother. My mother noticed Mary's behavior, but she kept a calm expression, holding back her emotions. As we were moving to the wedding hall, someone bumped into my shoulder forcefully.
Oh, sorry about that. I was just walking normally, but you disrupted the pace, so I ended up bumping into you.
She made this snide remark, deliberately glancing at my prosthetic leg. No, I'm sorry. I held back, determined not to cause a scene at my brother's wedding. When the ceremony began, it was filled with extravagant displays, likely chosen by Rachel and Mary. Mary was more excited than anyone, practically in a frenzy.
Rachel, you look amazing.
She was shouting as if she were at a concert, getting all worked up.
James, I remember him saying back in college that if he ever had a wedding, he'd want it to be a simple one. Who would have thought it would turn out to be the exact opposite? He probably can't speak up against Rachel.
Ethan muttered this as we moved to the reception hall after the ceremony. It felt like he was hinting that my brother's position was quite weak and that he felt sorry for him. At the reception, we were treated to games, surprise videos, and luxurious food. I'm just going to the restroom for a bit. I excused myself and left the room to go to the restroom. On my way back, I ran into Rachel, who was about to change into her second dress. Mary was right beside her, enthusiastically taking photos. As soon as Rachel noticed me, she pointed at me and, with a mocking laugh, said,
You actually wore that? Oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing having a girl with one leg at my wedding. You don't belong at such a grand event. Just go home already.
She laughed as she said this. It became clear to me that she had sent that dress just to mock me.
Rachel, you probably don't know this because you're the bride, but this girl is so shameless. She even sat in the front row during the ceremony. Just imagine if her prosthetic leg shows up in the wedding video. Honestly, with legs like that, she's just a burden to the venue. She should leave right now.
What? Really? I was only paying attention to the family seats, so this is the worst. Seriously, having a sister-in-law like this is a stain on my life.
They ridiculed me for sitting in the front row to celebrate my brother, telling me to leave, and I felt frozen, unable to move. As they laughed at me and I stood there with my head down, I heard a voice.
You two should be the ones to leave.
What?
Rachel and Mary immediately turned around, and there was my brother. At that moment, I was reminded of how he had always protected me during our school days.
You two have some nerve hurting my sister like this. Don't say such awful things, not even as a joke. Apologize to Ashley.
My brother stood up for me, and I was so happy I started crying. As tears welled up, he rushed over to me.
Ashley, are you okay? Have they been saying things like this to you all along?
I nodded repeatedly. Seeing this, my brother glared at Rachel and Mary, but they weren't intimidated.
What? Are you saying we're the bad guys here? Do you even understand your position as someone coming into our family? I can divorce you anytime and make sure you lose your job.
Exactly. You have no authority or status in the Smith family. You're just here to serve us. And yet, you dare to protect your sister. How pathetic.
Rachel and Mary began insulting my brother. While they directed their attention at him, I asked a nearby staff member to call Daniel. My brother, however, didn't back down, replying with,
You're mistaken if you think you're in charge here. The one who really holds the power is Daniel. You two are just lounging around at home, doing nothing. When I come home from work, you're sitting there watching TV instead of doing any housework.
Shut up. Housework is for the lowest rank. It's only natural that you do it.
My brother started revealing the inner workings of the Smith household. Since they had been arguing loudly in the hallway, people inside the room began to notice and peeked out to see what was happening. Just then, Daniel, who had been brought over by the staff, rushed in to intervene.
What's going on here?
With Daniel stepping in, the argument was temporarily halted. Noticing that I was there, Ethan quickly came to stand by my side.
So, Rachel, Mary, James, what were you all doing? Everyone was waiting in the room.
As soon as he said that, Rachel began making excuses.
I've already decided to call off the wedding with James. We're getting a divorce, so Dad, fire him immediately.
What?
Daniel didn't take his daughter's words at face value. Instead, he calmly asked my brother and me for our side of the story. My brother explained that he had witnessed Rachel saying hurtful things to me. I then told Daniel about all the things Rachel had done up until now. At the family meeting, she looked at my prosthetic leg and laughed mockingly from a distance with Mary. And today, they told me to leave because it would be embarrassing if my prosthetic leg appeared in the wedding video. And this party dress? Rachel bought it and sent it to me, deliberately making sure it was short enough to reveal my prosthetic leg. She was trying to make me a spectacle. As I said this, Rachel began to panic.
What are you talking about? Ashley, I genuinely thought that dress would look great on you. And when I told you to leave, I was just worried that your leg might be hurting.
You also said that having someone like me as a sister-in-law is a stain on your life. What did you mean by that? When I pressed her, Rachel turned pale and fell silent. She was probably scrambling to come up with an excuse in her head. In the meantime, the staff member who had been holding Rachel's dress shared the truth with Daniel as well. After hearing this, Daniel turned to me and apologized on behalf of Rachel and Mary.
It seems it's true that Rachel and Mary said some very disrespectful things to you, Ashley. I must have failed in raising them properly. I'll also apologize to your parents later. I'm truly sorry.
After apologizing, Daniel turned to my brother and began to speak.
You're free to divorce my daughter if you wish. But I admire your work skills, James. Please don't resign. Would you consider becoming my secretary instead?
Rachel was more shocked and furious than anyone else at this.
What? Dad, this is unbelievable. Why would you still want to keep him employed? Thanks to me, he got a better job than he had before. If we're getting divorced, firing him is the only logical thing to do. This is outrageous.
It seemed she couldn't bear the thought of James becoming Daniel's secretary. Her anger was even stronger because James had insulted her earlier. But Daniel, who understood Rachel better than anyone, said,
The real outrage here is your behavior. While James has been working hard, you've been out wasting your parents' money and haven't even done any housework. It's time for you to move out and live on your own.
He said he had spoiled her too much and planned to kick her out of the house, even though she was unemployed. Realizing she couldn't handle this, Rachel began pleading with him desperately.
No, no, no. I'm sorry. I'll do all the housework from now on, so please don't make me leave. I'm begging you.
With tears in her eyes, she desperately tried to convince him. But Daniel's resolve was much firmer than she had imagined.
No, you need to learn to be self-reliant. You've relied on your parents all your life, and now it's led to this disgraceful behavior.
As he said this, Rachel collapsed to her knees, sobbing. Mary, trying to comfort her, began to defend her daughter.
Isn't this a bit too harsh, forcing such a sweet girl to live on her own?
If you're so worried, why don't you move in with her?
What? Well,
Mary started to stammer, which made Rachel suspicious.
Wait, what? You're planning to abandon me and continue living as you always have.
As she glared at her mother, Mary began to sweat and grew increasingly agitated.
Unbelievable. You were the one who said that her prosthetic leg was a disgrace and a burden, and now you're going to put all the blame on me?
hey, I never said anything that awful.
Mary, aware of the people around her, tried to lower her voice. I couldn't tolerate her behavior any longer and quickly added, Mary, you did tell me that I was a disgrace to the Smith family and that I should leave, didn't you? I said this with a smile, and Mary's face turned pale. Even Daniel said to her,
It seems I failed to raise you as well, Mary. My own family has become a disgrace here. You need to start giving back to society. Volunteer work would be a good start.
Daniel scolded them both. He then escorted Rachel and Mary to a separate room and apologized to the relatives and friends who had attended.
At this joyous occasion of a wedding, I deeply apologize for causing such an incident. We will be returning the monetary gifts later.
Daniel announced loudly, apologizing to each person individually. My brother, as the groom, joined Daniel in apologizing. As we helped return the wedding gifts, many of the relatives and friends who attended spoke to us, telling me not to worry about any comments made about my prosthetic leg. Their words gave me courage, and I shed tears of happiness. After everyone had left, Daniel approached me and said,
I'm truly sorry for what happened today. I know that an apology isn't enough. If there's anything you want or need, please let me know.
No, I don't need anything. As long as James can live happily, that's all I want. Daniel nodded in understanding.
I'll work harder so I can buy you a prosthetic leg that's indistinguishable from a real one.
That's okay. What would make me happier is if you visit us more often, James. With that, my brother and I shared a laugh. A few months later, my brother was promoted to secretary. He's been working hard, learning from Daniel and observing his work closely. Although he seems very busy, my brother looks incredibly happy. Of course, on his days off, he still comes to our house and we hang out as we always have. Rachel and Mary have reportedly started living in an apartment far from the family home. Neither of them has any work experience, and they've been failing job interviews because of their arrogant attitudes. Their pride, along with their desire to maintain their previous lifestyle, has led them to rack up debt from shopping at high-end grocery stores. It'll be interesting to see how much further they fall. Daniel hasn't offered them any help and is currently preparing for divorce. Even though I was born without one leg, I've always had confidence that I'm more fortunate than many others. I hope that I can continue living happily with my brother and Ethan,